Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HazMat One-on-One Consultant Spotlight. I'm your host, Bob Koshignano, along with my good friend and best buddy, Derek Shaman. How are you, pal?
I'm doing good, Bob. How you doing today?
Excellent, excellent. A few more weeks, we'll be swinging the sticks again. You and I can go out and lose some golf balls together.
I'm good at that. Swinging, not so much. Losing, I can handle it.
Buy them two at a time, 2 dozen at a time, my friend. You get a
Yeah,
discount that way too.
pallets of balls.
Pallets of balls, exactly. We're gonna do something a little different. We normally talk about hazmat teams and their rigs and their equipment, but Derek and I were both the hazmat officers for our different shifts for City of Orlando Fire Department for a number of years, and then I went a different path, and so did he, and we kind of left downtown, and but we in the interim there was some equipment that we got put on there that kind of helped us out, especially with fuel spills. So we're going to talk real quickly about a fuel spill Derek just had with him being on engine six, and this device that was kind of made slash adapted, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Go ahead.
All right. So, like Bob said, I'm currently assigned to Engine 6, which is just east of the downtown corridor. We cover an executive airport, commercial, residential, and light industrial area. So we have a lot of variety in what we run. And this call in particular was just a fuel leak from a rented U-Haul pickup truck. When we arrived on scene, we met with the caller, and they advised they picked up a U-Haul truck, driven it a few miles, and went to a store to pick up some tile. And they came out and noticed a fuel smell. So looked underneath, and we could see a trickle of fuel coming from it. It wasn't
A
a steady
trickle.
flow. Yeah, it wasn't a steady flow, but it was more than a drip. So we'll call it a trickle.
A trickle.
Um, so the truck was also a current model year. It looked like it was either 2021 or 2022. So we knew it wasn't a rotten fuel tank. It was probably something that struck it. Looked up underneath, and it looked like it had probably been hit by maybe a piece of rebar or something like that in the roadway. Um, we threw down some absorbent to kind of make a berm so the spill didn't go any further. I had the guys pull a dry chemical extinguisher just in the event we had any kind of a flash. And then from there, we attempted to patch the hole using the putty that we carry on all of our first due engine companies. Unfortunately, that attempt was unsuccessful. And at that point, I made the determination to contact the HazMat team because we estimated there was about 19 gallons still left in the vehicle. Um, so instead of trying more attempted patches and failures, we figured that the best option would be for them to come out, evaluate, and probably offload.
Sure. And for those of you that want to better help guesstimating how much you have on the ground, I know nothing used to bother Derek and I more than getting dispatched to 5 gallons of fuel when it was, or dispatched to 50 gallons is really 5 gallons. So if you take a 5 gallon bucket of water and throw it on the front apron, then add another 5 gallons and then another 5 gallons and so on, liquids, you'll be able to guesstimate a better size on what you really have. So when you call for resources, they're not mad when they show up. But at any rate, all right, let's get into the picks.
All right, so what you see here is a far improvement over what we used to do. The HazMat team uses now a floor jack. It's a low rise, a low jack, but it has a fast rise. So just a few pumps will actually bring that jack all the way up. The piece that you saw there was a piercing tool. It's not permanently affixed to the jack. It's just set on there, and they use that to pierce it. So that's kept here on the right-hand side of the HazMat unit that we're looking at right now. And it should be in that second compartment on the right-hand side, which is where all the equipment for pump offs or vehicle related types of calls are. So all the plug and patch kits, but also that's where the jack would be kept, where that piercing device would be. And in addition to that, jack stands, because there are those times that we may have to lift a vehicle a little bit to get better access to it. And anytime you're lifting a vehicle, if you're going to put someone underneath, you need to make sure you have jack stands. So here's a picture again of that setup that we use. Like I said, that is not permanently affixed. It literally just sets on top of the floor jack there, and then 2-3 pumps, it gets to a pretty decent extension, should start making contact and piercing that tank.
And like we talked about before, is you don't want to keep puncturing it and pump it all the way up to where now that's actually a plug with a
Right.
bigger problem. So it's just enough to make the hole and get your fuel going. And as we always say, way back in the day, I think Derek, you'd mentioned this in our conversation a few days ago about actually using a Halligan on one of our jacks and taking the pick part of the Halligan to puncture holes. And we used to get around that anti-theft device. Sometimes we would get to that rubber hose that connects to the tank and either cut the top side of it with a razor or just loosen up the clamps to take it off completely. And honestly, it was dangerous and it was messy. And this is a lot better method that we had talked about making one for a long time after we had seen the way that FDNY uses our friends Bobby and Mike, the HazMat guys. And I think, if I remember right, they used a scissor jack with a battery operated screwdriver and a socket that they could then open up the jack fairly quickly. But this was something that our guys came up with and looks pretty decent.
Yeah, the screw jack setup that they use has the advantage that you could also place that into your catch basin. We're using the floor jack like we have here. You're going to make the puncture, then you're going to slide your basin in place. The reality is we already have product that's leaking onto the ground, so we're not too worried about that momentary increase in flow, because essentially all we're doing here with this punch is just trying to go from a ragged hole that's causing the fuel to fall out and basically break up into smaller droplets to getting it to a steady stream. So you can see here, it doesn't take much lift for that to make contact. The guys keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't go all the way in, then they retract it. They already had the absorbent down on the ground and then immediately slid the catch basin underneath it. So here you'll see the catch basin they're using is a cut-off portion of a poly drum. That's not the typical catch basin. The metallic one that attaches to the pump wasn't available, so that was what was used in the meantime. But using the metallic one, obviously you'd want to bond it, and if you want to do grounding operations, you could do that too. But you can see the metallic one we have here. It actually has the ability to be connected to the pneumatic diaphragm pump. So the great thing with that is, as the product is draining out, it's able to turn the pump on and just pull that product directly versus doing any kind of a siphoning operation or transfer operation from there.
Yeah, this is something one of our guys made, well over 10 years ago. I'd love to give credit to whoever it is, but I don't remember who the hell made it.
Yeah, I can't recall who did it. We've got quite a few really unique tools or instruments that were cobbled together by guys with just that mechanical know-how and skill. And that's a true resource on the HazMat team, in addition to having people who know their chemistry and can do research, do the science, all that, do air monitoring, is having people with that mechanical aptitude to be able to fabricate things, so that when you identify, hey, we need this thing, it may not be available on the market commercially, you can get someone that can actually fabricate it up for you. That's a win for me.
Yeah, it's where we always joke about MacGyver. And if you guys don't know who MacGyver is, I encourage you to Google it. It's basically a TV show where this guy just can make stuff on the whim to get a job accomplished. So it was pretty cool. And then we got a couple additional pieces, right?
Yeah, so in addition to that, they also have you saw the larger yellow catch basin there, the collapsible one, but the one that's on the screen right now, this is a skimmer. Basically, another one where it was kind of cobbled together from a floor drain and had the fitting put together so that it can also hook up to the diaphragm pump. So this is great for getting shallow standing pools off the ground, or even dropping into that catch basin if we needed to. This works really well.
Yeah, and you could take the screws off and add a more finer mesh if you're worried about stuff getting sucked up to their pump. And then what else? What do the screws do for us as well, Derek?
So one of the benefits to that, like Bob said, we can attach any kind of a mesh, like screen material, anything like that, if we're dealing with finer particulates than what that skimmer screen would block out. But one of the other benefits to it is the screws actually cause it to not sit flat against the ground. So it's less likely to get suction and pull itself down against. It's giving a little bit of a path for that fluid to get by and still be drawn up into the pump system.
Yeah, it's a neat little tool, and dropping that right into that big yellow catch base we had is great for sucking it up as well. So let's talk about PPE real quick for pump offs. I know there's a lot of departments do different things. I've seen departments where they wear bunker gear and they've taken the sleeves off of a Tyvek Cernic coated suit just to put over their bunker the bunker sleeves to protect them from getting absorbed. We wore Nomex jumpsuits. I think that's probably still the case now, along
Yeah,
with
that's what the guys on 101 Hazmat one, they wear the Nomex jumpsuits, and we'll get in there, and usually they're going to put on some sort of a chemical resistant glove just to reduce the exposure because your hands are going to get exposed. So they'll put on uh, a glove usually over a pair of mechanics gloves, just to give them a little bit of protection from something soaking into it.
and then they had, they wore eye protection. They had a Nomex hood.
Hmm.
And we also tried to make sure that our guys weren't wearing the leather fire boots. We had green, I can't remember the name of the manufacturer, not that it would matter, but the green hazmat boots, the thigh high boots.
I
I'm
believe
sorry,
they're
calf
called
high.
Has
Has
proof boots
has proof. Okay, yeah, the
by
green
DuPont, I
ones.
believe.
Yeah, the green ones
Everyone knows
everybody's
they have like
familiar
their,
with.
yeah, they're green pressure washer boots.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty much what they are. So we would use those as well. So just something to help keep your fire gear separate from, hazmat incident. Or, Derek, I think you had mentioned previously about having, if you have the luxury of having old gear laying around, maybe having something dedicated just for fuel spills, right?
Yeah, having something for your hazmat team where, I mean, a lot of departments now have a backup set of gear, which is great. Personally, I think hazmat teams, you should have a third set of gear, and that set of gear is assigned strictly for hazmat calls, so that you're not pulling into your backup gear on the fire side. In the event that you got it saturated with some sort of a hydrocarbon, it can literally be sent out for cleaning, whatever, but you still have your in-service fire gear so that you're not exposing yourself to anything it may have absorbed, and you're not downing your backup gear from being in service. So if you have the opportunity to be able to maybe keep some sets of gear for your hazmat guys so that they actually have three sets of gear, to me that would be optimal, and they dedicate one set specifically for hazmat operations.
Yeah, and if you're gonna get Nomex jumpsuits, make sure you do your research on them. We switched jumpsuits throughout the years, and unfortunately, I think we ordered the wrong set, and it really was not what we were looking for, so we had to reorder. So make sure you do your research is the bottom line before you make that purchase. Somebody also mentioned me about brush gear for these, and I'd never heard or thought of that. What's
I
your
mean,
thoughts?
I think that would work. I mean, your brush gear, I believe, is a Nomex material or a PBI, something along those lines. So it is a fire rated material. The benefit being it doesn't have the Nomex suit, and the brush gear don't have the same thermal barrier that would really kind of absorb that material. But again, you also don't have a thermal barrier. So in the event there was a flash fire,
Right.
you may be protected from the direct flame impingement, but the thermal issue, and that's why I always say, anytime we do anything with fuel spills, like I said, my crew was first on scene. The first thing that we did was we pulled off a dry chemical extinguisher. And during hazmat operations, when I was still on the team, anytime we did anything with fuels, we always had a dry chemical extinguisher standing by, because that's going to knock down your flash fire quick. Um, and the big thing with it is whoever's in charge of that dry chem extinguisher, that's their only job as far as I'm concerned. They're going to have their hands on that extinguisher. They're not doing something else, because I need them ready. And that pin needs to already be pulled, because their reflex action is going to be to squeeze. And you don't want that moment of hesitation or forgetfulness where they try squeezing and haven't pulled the pin, because while they're trying to figure it out, you're on fire for the next 2 to 3 seconds. So
Right. That would be a bad thing.
yeah, I don't like to be on fire.
Exactly. Well, hey, Derek, I appreciate it. Thanks for showing us this neat tool that Hazmat One has and telling us real quick about the run. I want to take a quick second to thank our sponsors, the Hazmat Guys podcast. Bobby and Mike are good friends. Check out their podcast. They got 300 something of them. And Ron Huffman's responder training, the 1 inch flare, the Dragon Slayer, I think it's called, and his water injection class. Great classes. Derek, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Also,
having me.
absolutely, anytime. And then lastly, before we leave, please check out some of these websites and Facebook pages. As I mentioned, the Hazmat Guys web and Facebook, the Hazmat Guys Roundtable, the first Tuesday of every month, 9 p.m. Eastern. Bobby and Mike, the Hazmat Guys, myself, and Jeff Seintek, retired Hazmat Captain from Phoenix, do a live show talking about different runs, uh, other Hazmat related stuffs, if you will. And the Hazmat Group 2, Hazmatter Group, and Common Sense Hazmat on Facebook. Great resources. If you're looking to get some information, have a problem with something, this is the place to ask. So, with that, we appreciate it. Thanks again, and we will see you soon.